Hello again. Here is part 2 for your instruction video. You know with advanced academics that you work up into the thousandths place, and the previous video was limited to the hundredths place. So it also gives us another chance to practice with that those hundredths. All right. So when we look at this one, let's go ahead and, like we did in the video before, set up our places with their names. And to help us to remember how to count to the thousandths from yesterday, let's write a little help guide. We know the tenths are 10 columns out of the grid. The hundredths are 100 squares for the grid. And the thousandths are the tiny little slivers, and there's 1,000 of them in the grid. So when I look at this model, I see that I have one shaded completely in. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rods, 5 columns, which is 5/10. For the squares, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares total out of 100, so that's 4 hundredths. And then for the thousandths, there are 3 shaded in. So for our mixed number, 1 is the whole number, 543 is our numerator, and that means 543 of those little tiny slivers shaded out of 1,000 total. And then for our number name, I start with the whole, 1. The decimal point says and. The decimal reads 543. Oops. And then remember, the last place names the decimal. Okay? So let's go ahead and try it again. Now if you like, you can do that abbreviated version. It does go a bit faster. Okay. Again, we have one shaded grid, but when you look at this thousandths grid, I'm not representing every place. For example, we know the tenths are those columns. We don't have one column shaded in. We know the hundredths are squares, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And then I'm looking for the little tiny slivers on their own, and I don't see any. And so I'm going to hold it with a 0. So my mixed number is 1 in 70 shaded out of 1,000. And my number name is 1 and 70 thousandths. Okay, let's try some more. Now this one, I just wanted to show that we could have more than 1 or 2 as a whole number. Go ahead, set this up for yourself. This time we have 1, 2, 3, 4 for our whole number. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns, 8 shaded out of 10. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares and no thousandths. So 4 and 890 shaded out of 1,000. And then the wholes are pronounced 4. The decimal says and. The decimal amount reads 890. And then the last place is the thousandths. So 4 and 890 thousandths. All right. We did some of these earlier, but I crossed off the ones that we did that's in the regular curriculum and included the ones that are in the advanced academics. So number, name, and mixed number for each decimal. Well, first of all, we have 14. The decimal says and. When I look at my decimal, it reads 7. This is the tenths place, the hundredths place, thousandths place. So when I write my decimal, tenths, hundredths, oh, I didn't do a very good job of that, did I? Thousandths. So there, oh, what am I doing? Oh, Jennifer, I'm being a silly girl. Sorry. Mixed numbers, what I need. All right, my apologies. 14 and 7 thousandths. All right. I'm going to go ahead and write the answer for this. If you'd like to pause and play when you're ready, you can. If you want to do it with me, you're more than welcome to. All right. I have 9 for the whole amount. My decimal says and. I read it as 57. And this is the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths place. All right. Now, I'm not going to write the decimal again. I'm going to write a mixed number. So 9 is the whole number. The decimal is 57 out of 1,000. All right. Now it wants us to take mixed numbers and write them as decimals. I know that 12 comes before the decimal point because it is a whole number. All right. Now I only have 32 thousandths. And if the denominator's thousandths, it means that the last digit has to show up there. And I need to make sure that it reads 32. So 12 and 32 thousandths. 12 and 32 thousandths. All right. The next one, 2 comes before the decimal point. And this is kind of along the same lines. I have 23 thousandths. I need to make sure it reads 23 thousandths. So again, using all my places, I need a placeholder in the tenths to force it to read the quantity of the decimal. All right, and our last set of practice problems are like what we ended with in the first video. Which decimal correctly represents the decimal form of 6 and 2 thousandths? So I would write it out. All right. So it needs to be 2 thousandths, and I have 2 placeholders. So again, if you're on an online assessment, I would use the eliminator choice. I know that I have to have 6 in the ones place. That eliminates B. And then if you look at A, there's something very wrong with it. It doesn't have a decimal. That's a comma. That's got to go. So now I'm down to these 2 choices, and D is wrong because they placed the 2 in the tens place, when all we had are 2 tiny slivers that are shaded in, not 200 of them. Which decimal correctly represents the decimal form of 84 and 76 thousandths. Well, again, it has to be 76 thousandths. That means there are no tenths, and we need a placeholder. So when we use the elimination idea for this question, the whole number is fine for all 3 of them. I think I'm going to start with the tenths place. Actually, that will get me almost to the answer right away. If you look at B, it has a 0 in the tenths place like it's supposed to. Look at the other ones. They all are too huge. They're going to say that there are 700 thousandths or more shaded when there's only 76, not even a full column. So eliminating is always so helpful when you complete tasks like these. All right, what is the correct number name for this decimal? So the whole says 10, decimal says and. I read the decimal amount as 107, and the last digit is in the thousandths place. So again, I'm going to look for 10. All right, they're all 4 are the same. Now I'm going to look for the word and. 10,000, nope. And that says and. Then I'm going to look for 107, so 10 and 17 thousandths. 10 and 107, 10 and 107. So they're good to go. I just have to find the one that ends with thousandths. B ends with thousandths. D had the mistake of saying hundredths. All right, and what's the correct number name for this decimal? 23. Decimal says and. When I look at the decimal, it reads 87. And the sevenths in the tens, hundreds, thousandths place. So I'm going to look for 23 first. 23, 23. So they're all good there. Now I'm going to look for the word and. That says thousands, not going to work. So 23 and, 23 and. All right. Next I'm going to look for 87, 807. That's not 87. 87, 87. Now I'm going to find the one with thousandths. This says tenths. This says thousandths. So D is the correct one. All right. Like always, good luck on your practice work and your assessment, and don't hesitate if you need me.